Hey there, preppers and survival enthusiasts. Welcome back to another video on the Reliable Prepper channel. Today we're diving deep into a crucial topic that's been on many of our minds lately, preparing for potential crises in late 2024 and early 2025. We've got a lot to cover, so grab your notepads and let's get started. Before we begin, I want to remind you all that while it's important to be prepared, it's equally important not to let fear control our lives. The goal of prepping is to give us peace of mind and resilience in the face of uncertainty, not to panic. With that said, let's look at some potential scenarios we might face and how to prepare for them. First up on our list is political instability surrounding the 2024 U.S. presidential election. Now, I know politics can be a touchy subject, but as preppers, we need to consider all possibilities. The aftermath of an election, especially a contentious one, can lead to civil unrest, economic uncertainty, and even disruptions to daily life. So, how do we prepare for this? First and foremost, stay informed. Make sure you're getting your news from reliable, nonpartisan sources. It's easy to get caught up in the echo chamber of social media, but try to seek out objective reporting. Remember, knowledge is power, especially in uncertain times. Next, have a solid communication plan with your family and friends. In case of widespread unrest or even temporary communication blackouts, you'll want to have a way to check in with your loved ones. This could be as simple as designating a specific time each day to make contact, or having a predetermined meeting place if things get really chaotic. It's also crucial to keep important documents secure and easily accessible. I'm talking about things like identification, insurance papers, medical records, and financial documents. Consider keeping digital copies in a secure cloud storage and physical copies in a fireproof, waterproof safe. In a worst-case scenario where you need to leave your home quickly, you'll want to be able to grab these essential papers in a hurry. Now, I can't stress this enough. Maintain a low profile and avoid political confrontations. In times of heightened tensions, it's best to keep your opinions to yourself, especially in public. Remember, our goal as preppers is to stay safe and protect our families, not to win arguments or prove points. Another important aspect of preparing for potential political instability is having cash on hand. In case of bank closures or ATM shortages, you'll want to have enough cash to cover your basic needs for at least a few weeks. How much exactly? Well, that depends on your individual circumstances, but a good rule of thumb is to have enough to cover a month's worth of expenses. Lastly on this topic, be prepared for potential travel restrictions or curfews. Have enough supplies at home to shelter in place for an extended period if necessary. This leads us nicely into our next point: supply chain disruptions. Even without political instability, we've seen in recent years how fragile our supply chains can be. Natural disasters, global health crises, and international conflicts can all lead to shortages of essential goods. So, how do we prepare for this? The cornerstone of prepping for supply chain issues is building a stockpile of non-perishable foods. Aim for a 3 to 6 month supply if possible. Focus on nutrient-dense foods that have a long shelf life. Think rice, beans, canned vegetables and fruits, dried meats, and so on. Don't forget to account for any dietary restrictions or preferences in your family. Water is even more critical than food. The general guideline is to store 1 gallon per person per day, and you should aim for at least a 2-week supply. But remember, in a long-term crisis, 2 weeks might not be enough. Consider investing in a good water filtration system as well, so you can purify water from less reliable sources if necessary. Medications and first aid supplies are another crucial category. If you or your family members rely on prescription medications, talk to your doctor about getting an emergency supply. As for over-the-counter meds and first aid supplies, stock up on the basics. Pain relievers, antihistamines, bandages, antiseptics, and so on. Now, here's where many preppers fall short. They build up their supplies but forget about rotation. Food, even non-perishable food, doesn't last forever. Make sure you're regularly using and replacing your stockpile to keep everything fresh. A good way to do this is to incorporate your stockpile into your regular meal planning, always replacing what you use. Learning food preservation techniques can also be a game changer. Skills like canning, dehydrating, and fermenting can help you extend the life of fresh foods and reduce your reliance on store-bought goods. Plus, these are valuable skills to have in any situation, not just during a crisis. Lastly, on the topic of supply chain disruptions, consider developing local connections for essentials. Get to know your local farmers, join a CSA, community-supported agriculture, or even start trading with neighbors who have complementary skills or resources. Building a resilient local network can be a lifesaver when national or global supply chains are disrupted. Moving on to our third potential crisis: economic challenges. Now, I'm not an economist, and I'm certainly not here to make any predictions about the financial future. But as preppers, it's our job to be ready for anything, including economic downturns. The first step in preparing for economic challenges is building an emergency fund. Aim for 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up in an easily accessible account. This can help you weather job loss, unexpected expenses, or other financial shocks without going into debt. Speaking of debt, reducing what you owe should be a priority. High-interest debt like credit card balances can be a major vulnerability in times of economic stress. Work on paying these down as much as possible. Diversifying your investments is another important strategy. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, whether that's stocks, real estate, or anything else. Consider a mix of different asset classes, including some tangible assets like precious metals or even practical items that hold their value well. Developing multiple income streams can also increase your financial resilience. This could mean starting a side business, freelancing, or even just picking up a part-time job. The goal is to have alternatives if your main source of income is disrupted. Learning practical skills that could be bartered is another often overlooked aspect of financial preparedness. Skills like carpentry, plumbing, sewing, or mechanics can be valuable not just for saving money on your own repairs and projects, but also as potential sources of income or barter in a crisis situation. And don't forget about growing some of your own food. Even if you just have a small balcony or windowsill, you can grow herbs or small vegetables. This not only saves money, but also gives you a degree of food independence. Now, let's talk about natural disasters. These can strike anywhere, at any time, and often with little warning. The key to surviving a natural disaster is being prepared before it happens. Start by creating an emergency kit with essentials for 72 hours. This should include water, non-perishable food, a first aid kit, flashlights and extra batteries, a battery-powered or hand-crank radio, and any necessary medications. Don't forget about items like a manual can opener, basic tools, and sanitation supplies. Develop and practice an evacuation plan with your family. Everyone should know the quickest way out of the house and where to meet up if you get separated. If you have pets, make sure your plan includes them too. Investing in a weather radio is a smart move. These can alert you to severe weather even if other communication systems are down. Make sure you know how to use it and keep extra batteries on hand. Depending on where you live, you might want to consider specific disaster-proofing measures for your home. This could mean reinforcing your roof for hurricanes, clearing brush away from your house in wildfire-prone areas, or securing heavy furniture in earthquake zones. Learning basic first aid and CPR is crucial. In a disaster situation, emergency services might be overwhelmed or unable to reach you quickly. Being able to provide immediate care could save a life. Lastly, on this topic, keep important documents in a waterproof portable container. This includes identification, insurance policies, bank records, and medical information. In case you need to evacuate quickly, you'll want to be able to grab these and go. Next on our list of potential crises, public health concerns. The COVID-19 pandemic taught us all some hard lessons about preparedness for health crises. So let's make sure we remember them. Start by stocking up on personal protective equipment like masks, gloves, and hand sanitizer. Even if there's not an active pandemic, these items are useful for all sorts of situations. Learn and practice proper sanitation and hygiene. This goes beyond just washing your hands, although that's certainly important. Think about things like properly handling and cooking food, sanitizing surfaces, and managing waste in a situation where normal services might be disrupted. Have a quarantine plan for your household. If one family member gets sick, how will you isolate them to protect others? Think about designating a specific room and bathroom for quarantine use if possible. Building a robust immune system through diet and exercise is always a good idea, but it's especially important when preparing for potential health crises. Make sure you're getting enough vitamins and minerals, particularly vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc, which are crucial for immune function. Stay updated on vaccinations. This doesn't just mean for emerging threats, but also for more common illnesses like flu and pneumonia. In a crisis situation, you don't want to be dealing with a preventable illness on top of everything else. Lastly, on this topic, develop a telemedicine plan. Many healthcare providers now offer remote consultations, which can be a lifesaver if you can't leave your home or if local medical facilities are overwhelmed. Now, let's talk about a scenario that's been on many preppers' minds lately: social unrest. Whether it's triggered by political events, economic hardship, or other factors, civil disturbances can quickly make everyday life dangerous. The first step in preparing for social unrest is securing your home. This means reinforcing doors and windows, installing good locks, and possibly setting up a security system. The goal is to make your home a hard target for anyone looking to cause trouble. Having a bug-out bag ready for quick evacuation is crucial. This should contain everything you need to survive for at least 72 hours away from home. Include things like food, water, a change of clothes, cash, copies of important documents, and a first aid kit. Developing situational awareness skills can help you avoid dangerous situations before they escalate. This means being aware of your surroundings, recognizing potential threats, and trusting your instincts when something doesn't feel right. Know multiple routes in and out of your area. In a crisis, your usual routes might be blocked or unsafe. Having alternatives can be the difference between getting to safety and being stuck in a dangerous situation. Consider self-defense training. I'm not talking about becoming a martial arts expert overnight, but knowing some basic techniques to protect yourself can be valuable. Remember, the goal is always to avoid conflict if possible, but it's good to be prepared if avoidance isn't an option. Have a meetup plan with family members. If you're separated during a crisis, everyone should know where to go and how to get in touch. Moving on to our next potential crisis, cybersecurity threats. In our increasingly digital world, this is a threat we can't afford to ignore. Start with the basics. Use strong, unique passwords for all your accounts and enable two-factor authentication wherever possible. Consider using a password manager to help you keep track of all those complex passwords. Regularly backing up important data offline is crucial. Whether it's family photos, financial records, or work documents, make sure you have copies that aren't vulnerable to online attacks. Keeping your software and systems updated is another simple but effective step. Those updates often include important security patches, so don't put them off. Be cautious with emails and downloads. Phishing attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated, so think twice before clicking on links or downloading attachments, even if they seem to come from a trusted source. Have non-digital copies of important information. In case of a large-scale cyber attack that takes down networks or corrupts data, you'll want to have physical copies of things like contact information, account numbers, and important documents. Consider keeping some cash on hand in case electronic payment systems are disrupted. How much depends on your individual circumstances, but enough to cover a few weeks of expenses is a good starting point. Now let's talk about food insecurity. This ties in closely with the supply chain disruptions we discussed earlier, but it's a big enough concern to warrant its own section. Learning to grow your own food is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Even if you don't have a large yard, you'd be surprised how much you can grow in containers on a balcony or even indoors. Start small with herbs or salad greens and work your way up to more challenging crops. Food preservation skills go hand in hand with growing your own food. Learn techniques like canning, dehydrating, and fermenting. These skills allow you to store your harvest for long-term use and reduce your reliance on the grocery store. Foraging is another useful skill to develop. Learning about edible plants in your area can provide a valuable food source in a crisis. Just make sure you learn from a reliable source. Mistakes in foraging can be dangerous. Stocking up on seeds for future planting is a smart move. Seeds are cheap, take up little space, and can provide a renewable food source. Focus on open-pollinated or heirloom varieties that you can save seeds from year after year. Building relationships with local farmers is another way to increase your food security. Join a CSA, shop at farmers markets, or even offer to volunteer on a local farm in exchange for produce. These connections can be invaluable if larger supply chains are disrupted. Lastly on this topic, learn to cook with basic, shelf-stable ingredients. Rice, beans, and canned goods might not be the most exciting foods, but knowing how to turn them into palatable meals can make a big difference in a crisis situation. Next up, energy crises. Whether it's due to natural disasters, infrastructure failures, or geopolitical events, prolonged power outages are a very real possibility we need to prepare for. Investing in alternative energy sources is a great place to start. Solar panels are becoming more affordable and efficient every year. Even a small system can keep essential devices charged and run some basic appliances. If you're in a suitable area, small wind turbines can also be a good option. Having backup heating methods is crucial, especially if you live in a cold climate. A wood stove or propane heater can keep you warm when the power is out. Just make sure you understand how to use these safely, especially when it comes to ventilation. Stock up on batteries and consider rechargeable options. A good set of rechargeable batteries and a solar charger can keep your flashlights, radios, and other small devices running indefinitely. Learn to live without electricity for extended periods. This might sound extreme, but it's a valuable skill to have. Practice going a day or a weekend without power. You'll quickly figure out what you really need and what you can do without. Have manual alternatives for electric appliances. This could mean a hand crank coffee grinder, a manual can opener, or even something as simple as a whisk to replace your electric mixer. Improving your home's insulation and energy efficiency is a good idea in any situation, crisis or not. It'll save you money on your energy bills and make your home more comfortable in case of heating or cooling system failures. Finally, let's talk about preparing for geopolitical tensions. Now, I know this can be a scary topic, but remember, our goal is to be prepared, not frightened. Staying informed about global events is key. Make a habit of reading or watching international news from reputable sources. Understanding what's happening in the world can help you anticipate potential problems before they affect you directly. Having a passport ready and up to date is important, even if you don't have any immediate travel plans. In a worst-case scenario where you need to leave the country quickly, you don't want to be delayed by passport issues. Consider learning a second language, particularly one that's widely spoken in your region or globally. This can be invaluable if you ever need to relocate or communicate with people from different backgrounds during a crisis. Have an international communication plan. Know how to make international calls and consider setting up a secure messaging app that works globally. Make sure your family and close friends know how to use it too. Understanding basic international laws and rights is important, especially if there's a chance you might need to leave your home country. This includes things like refugee rights, asylum procedures, and international travel regulations. Lastly, have a plan for potential financial sanctions or currency issues. This might mean holding some assets in a foreign currency or intangible goods that hold their value internationally. Whew! That was a lot of information, wasn't it? But here's the thing. Being prepared isn't about anticipating every possible scenario or having a perfect plan for every situation. It's about developing a mindset of resilience and adaptability. The skills and preparations we've discussed today aren't just for extreme crisis situations. Many of them are valuable in everyday life too. Growing your own food, managing your finances wisely, staying informed about world events. These are all things that can improve your quality of life right now, while also preparing you for potential future challenges. Remember, the goal of prepping isn't to live in fear, but to live with confidence. Knowing that you're prepared for a range of possibilities can give you peace of mind and allow you to focus on enjoying your life rather than worrying about what might go wrong. As we wrap up this video, I want to encourage you all to take action. Don't let this information just sit in your head. Pick one or two areas we've discussed today and start working on them this week. If you found this information helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the Reliable Prepper channel. We're committed to bringing you practical, actionable prepping advice every week. And hey, why not join our Reliable Prepper community Facebook group? It's a great place to connect with like-minded individuals, share tips, and ask questions. The link is in the description below. Make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications turned on so you don't miss anything. Remember, folks, preparedness is a journey, not a destination. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep preparing. Until next time, this is Reliable Prepper, reminding you to stay safe, stay prepared, and stay resilient. See you in the next video.